Hello students. So I'm Tushar Kumar Das. So we have discussed last class we have discussed about the basic VI characteristics of thyristor. So in that what you came to know about those two major terms, that is nothing but lashing current, holding current, then the different modes of operation of thyristor. Along with also we came to know about the how the gate current is essential, to turn on the thyristors, layer thickness of each and every layer among the four layers of thyristor, and which one is highly doped and which one is lightly doped. If it is highly doped, then how it makes difference in the operation of thyristor. So we came to know that in the previous lecture, if you remember. So that gate current, if the gate current increases, the breakover voltage decreases. So if you plot the variation of the breakover voltage, that is VBO, okay, with respect to the gate current, then how it will be looking like? So it will be looking like the variation will be somewhat like this. So what does it mean? That means, let's say this is the gate current, this is, let's say, Ig3, okay, and this one will be the corresponding breakover voltage, nothing but VBO3. Similarly, if you again take the second gate current, which is less than the Ig3, let's say this one is the second current. So that one will be, look at here, so this one will be, so this is Ig2, and this one corresponding breakover voltage, that will be VBO2. So similarly, you can take another current, gate current, let's say this is Ig1, and corresponding voltage will be VBO1. So this is the variation of the breakover voltage with respect to the gate current. So from this trend also, on previous lecture also, we have discussed this thing. So it is that Ig3 is greater than Ig2 is greater than Ig1, and when the gate current is 0, let's say this is Ig0, the corresponding voltage will be this VB0, okay. So that one will be greater than Ig0, so this one is Ig0. So if you are increasing the gate current, then what is happening in that trend, that VBO3, okay, that will be less than VBO2, that will be less than VBO1, and that will be less than VBO. Okay, so if you see, if you are not applying any gate current, the breakover voltage, that will be the maximum among all the values. Clear? So that means if you are allowing you are increasing the amplitude of the gate current, then the breakover voltage will be reducing, that will be VBO3. So within less, so we can control the instant of switching of thyristor. This is the reason why you can make one conclusion that thyristor is a current controlled device. So that means if you are varying the gate current, then only you can control the device. So that's why it is known as the it is a current control device. And another thing you must be knowing that whenever the gate current will be, or gate signal will be applied, and the current reaches to the latching current, then the gate signal, you can remove it. Okay, why you need to remove it? Because if you will remove the gate signal, then the power dissipation in the gate, that will be low. Okay, so power dissipation at the gate will be low, means the junction temperature will also not rise. So if you apply a continuous gate signal till the thyristor operates, then you will find out that the power dissipation will be high, because the continuous gate current will be flowing, and due to that continuous flow of gate current, what will happen? The gate junction temperature will rise. Okay, so which will affect the performance of the device. So this is the reason why you are supposed to apply a gate signal till the current reaches to the latching current, okay, or more than that, little bit more than that, so that you can remove the gate signal, because gate will not have any control over that. Once the current reaches to the latching current, after that the current will be controlled by the load itself. Okay, so this is the reason why you can make one point here, that gate signal is applied for the period till the anode current, till the anode current reaches the latching current. So which is the value equal to latching current of the device, latching current of the device. Okay, so up to that period gate signal will be applied. Then you can remove the gate signal. So next point you can write down that then gate signal can be removed so as to avoid the power dissipation, which will increase the junction temperature. Then gate signal can be removed so as to avoid unnecessary power dissipation in the gate junction. Okay, and also when the anode current reaches to the latching current value, then it does not have any control. So you don't have any control over the gate, will not have any control over the operation of the device. That's why you can, if you remove, then there it will not affect the operation. Okay, so this is all about the VI characteristics of thyristor. Okay, so you can expect some questions like related to holding current, latching current, which values high. So you have to remember always the latching current is associated with on process, and holding current is associated with off process. Okay, and always the latching current is greater than the holding current, that is nothing but 2 to 3 times of holding current. Okay, so now after discussing this one, let's discuss another point, that is nothing but the two transistor model of thyristor. That is a very popular thing and you should remember, and sometimes question comes from this part, that is two transistor model of a thyristor. Two transistor model of a thyristor. That means actually thyristor is not a combination of two transistors. It is actually, you can represent thyristor to know the exact operation, how it is operating. You can split the one thyristor into two transistors. So how to do this one? Let's say this one, the structure of, let's say this is the structure of the thyristor, the P layer, N layer, then again P, and again N layer. So here will be gate terminal, and here will be anode, and here will be cathode terminal. Now what you do, so in order to represent in the two transistor, what you do, so you split this inner N layer in inner P layer. So how to do this one? Look at here. So let's split this part. Now if you are splitting this part, so this is N layer, then this is P layer. Okay, so it is now divided in two parts. So here it will be again N, here it will be P. So now if you see here, this is one PNP junction and this is one NPN junction. So if you split this one, then they will form two transistor. Now how to represent this one? So if you want to represent in a transistor model, so look at here. First one will be one PNP transistor, second one will be one NPN transistor. So how to put? Look at here. So you can put it here like this. This is the anode terminal A. From there, here you can put one transistor. So that is PNP transistor. So here the arrow mark will be there. Then here will be the other terminal. This is the base terminal. The second transistor, that will be a NPN transistor. This will be connected here, and this will be the gate terminal. So this is anode, this is nothing but cathode terminal. So if you see this terminal, that is nothing but the emitter terminal. So you can, let's say this is the transistor 1 Q1, this is the transistor 2 Q2. Okay, so here this current that one will be the anode current. So this is nothing but anode current, so which is equal to the emitter current of the transistor 1. Then here this current, that will be the base current of the transistor 1 IB1, which is nothing but collector current for the second transistor, that is nothing but IC2. And this one will be the collector current, okay, that is nothing but IC1. Okay, and here will be the gate current IC, and this one will be the base current. And this one will be the base current of the second transistor. And the third one, here it will be that this current will be the cathode current, which is equal to the emitter current of the second transistor. So now this is the structure. Now we have divided the inner N layer and P layer. So if you split it and if you open it, then it can be represented in this form. So here will be the anode current. Okay, this one will be the anode current. Then this will be the one will be equal to the emitter current of the first transistor. Then after that, the base current of the first transistor, that is equal to the collector current of second transistor, and collector current of the first transistor, that is will be added with the gate current, and that will be the base current of this transistor. So what happens when you are applying the gate current? So this Q2 will be operating. So Q2 is operating means, because when the base signal is applied to the Q2, so Q2 will be on. When Q2 will be on, that in that term it will be switching on the transistor Q1. So when transistor Q1 is operating and Q2 is both also operating, then what will happen? The anode current will flow, and that will flow from anode to cathode. So from this also you can explain how the thyristor works. Okay, so now let's derive some relationship between the currents. So look at here, if you see both the transistors, so both the transistors, if you see both the transistors, how they are connected, so they are connected in a common base mode. So both Q1 and Q2, so this is the first observation, Q1 and Q2 are connected in common base mode. It is in common base mode. So both the transistors are connected in common base mode. So let's derive some relationship. So for the first transistor, you people might be knowing in a common base connection. So what is the collector current? Collector current will be equal to alpha into IE plus ICBO. Okay, that is the concept of transistor. So this is nothing but the collector current. This is the current amplification factor or current gain, and this is the emitter current, and this is the collector to base leakage current when the emitter is open. Clear? So as we are considering for the first transistor, that is Q1, so this one will be equal to IC1, that will be equal to alpha 1, that into IE1 into ICB1. That is all the values are corresponding to the transistor 1 that is Q1. Then, so next thing, what you can write down here. So what is the IE1? So if you look at the diagram, IA is nothing but the emitter current. Okay, so that you can put it here. So IC1 will be equal to alpha 1 into, in place of IE1 you can put IA. So this plus ICBO1. Okay, so let it be equation number 1. So similarly for the transistor 2, you can write down here IC2 will be equal to alpha 2 into IE2, as the Q2 is also connected in base mode, common base mode. So it will be alpha 2 into IE2 plus ICBO2. That is nothing but, let's say, equation number 2. But what is IE2? So look, if you look at here, IE2 is nothing but the cathode current. So this thing you can put it here. So this one will be equal to IC2 equal to alpha 2 into IK plus ICBO2. Clear? So only in place of IE2, because here, from here it is clear that emitter current of the second transistor, that is equal to the cathode current. Okay. Now look at here. If you apply KCL here you can put it that IA will be equal to, here it is IC2, here it is IC1. So you can put it here, because you people know that IE1 for transistor 1, that is equal to IB1 plus IC1. So now IE1 is IA, so that is equal to IB1. So IB1 is nothing but IC2 plus IC1. So that thing you can put here. So you people know that now it is anode current, that will be equal to IC1 plus IC2. Clear? Now put these values. Put the values from equation 1 and 2 here. So it will be alpha 1 into IA plus ICBO1 plus IC2 is nothing but alpha 2 into IK plus ICBO2. Clear? Now what you do? Now you look at here. So this is the anode current and this is the cathode current. And if you look at here, when the thyristor conducts, you look at this diagram. This is IA and that current will be flowing here. Okay, here it will be IK, but the additional current that will be added here is the gate current. Here the additional current that will be added, gate current. So you can put it here, conclusion that the cathode current, that one will be equal to anode current plus the gate current. So IK can be replaced by this term. So it will become alpha 1 into IA plus, in place of this one you can write down alpha 2 into IA plus IZ, that is nothing but gate current, plus ICBO1 plus ICBO2. Now, so this is equal to IA will be equal to, now this two term you can add up, you can take common IA. So this will become alpha 1 plus alpha 2 into IA plus alpha 2 into IZ plus ICBO1 plus ICBO2 as usual. So again this term you can take into left hand side, because IA is common in both the terms. So what you can write down here, if you bring it, so it will become IA into 1 minus alpha 1 plus alpha 2, that will be equal to alpha 2 IZ plus ICBO1 plus ICBO2. Now what is the value of this anode current? Now it will be equal to alpha 2 IZ plus ICBO1 plus ICBO2, this whole divided by 1 minus alpha 1 plus alpha 2. Okay, so if you see this equation, let's say this equation number is 3. If you see this equation number 3, so we need the maximum current whenever our aim is that whenever the device conducts, so you will have the maximum anode to cathode current, that is the anode current. So when it will be maximum? So theoretically, if you see, if this one will be the minimum, then that one will be maximum. So when this one will be minimum? When 1 minus alpha 1 plus alpha 2, that will be equal to 0. Okay, means then it will become, theoretically it will become infinity, but that practically it is not possible. So that means alpha 1 plus alpha 2 will be equal to unity. So this actually exactly it is not equal to unity, it must be approximately equal to unity. So if it becomes unity, then current flowing, that will be very high value. So what happens? So it is depending upon this alpha 1 and alpha 2. So alpha 1 and alpha 2, it will be trying to tend to unity, but it will never be unity, because that will theoretically it will make the current infinity. It is not practically possible. Okay, so that if you see this point here, so what is the conclusion here? That look at them. If the gate current increases, okay, obviously the anode current will be increasing. Then in that term it will increase the alpha 1 and alpha 2. If IA is increasing, and alpha 1 and alpha 2 both will be increasing. And if you see from the equation number 3, if alpha 1 and alpha 2 both are increasing, again additionally the IA will be increasing. Additionally it will increase the anode current. Anode current will be increased further. Clear? So in that condition, means you can see that when you are applying the gate current, it is increasing the anode current. Okay, then because it will just inject the electrons in the outer end layer. So what will happen? As a result, the alpha 1 and alpha 2 will be increasing. So if alpha 1 and alpha 2 will be increasing, this IA further it will be increasing. So I will be increasing, then the device goes into conduction. The device goes into conduction. So now we have analyzed the device, the thyristor that is splitted into two transistors, and from the transistor equations, by putting those equations, now you came to know that how the device will be switched on when you will be applying a gate current. So that then, so current is increasing, the anode current increasing, the device goes into conduction. So that is it is possible due to the application of gate current. Clear? So this is nothing but the two transistor model. So you'll be getting some questions from cases only to using these equations. Sometimes you will be asked to find out the anode current if the gate current and these leakage currents will be given, and alpha and alpha 2 will be given. Then you can find out the anode current. Like that you can get small, or you can expect some small questions based on this one. Okay. So this is all about the characteristics of the thyristor. Next thing that we'll be discussing, that will be nothing but the firing circuit. Firing circuit. So firing circuit, you need to study. So firing circuit means how you are applying the gate signal. So that gate current that will be applying, what is the procedure, which circuit will be used to give you the firing. So that's why if you see the practical case, how it is applied. Okay, practical case, if you see, let's say one thyristor is there. Okay, this is one thyristor. You need to turn on this thyristor. Let's say this is connected to some source. Let's say this is one AC source, and let's say here is one load will be connected. Okay, let's say this is plus minus. This is the load R, and this is the supply voltage Vs, which is equal to Vm sine omega t. Now this thyristor you need to switch on. So for that you need one firing circuit. Okay, so the firing circuit which will be in accordance to the power circuit. So this circuit forms the power circuit. This circuit forms the power circuit of the thyristor. Then after that, here this side will be having the gate circuit, which will be applying the signal to gate signal or gate current to the thyristor. So for that part you will be having one control signal. So that control signal, it will be in accordance with the control signal, it will be in accordance with this power circuit, because let's say this is the output voltage V0 and you want to fix this output voltage to certain value. So for that purpose what you have to do, so let's say this is plus, this is minus. So in that purpose what you have to do, you have to take one feedback, okay, which will be given to the controller. One set point will be given, from that one control signal will be generated. So that control signal will be given to a pulse generator. That will be given to a pulse generator. So what is the purpose of this pulse generator? The pulse generator will be giving the signal like this. One pulse signal will be giving like this. So that pulse signal, as this amplitude of this pulse signal will be low, that's why you need one pulse amplifier. You need one pulse amplifier. Okay. So let me throw this one. So you require one pulse amplifier. The pulse amplifier, it will just amplify the signal, because this signal may not be able to switch on the device as it is running with a high power circuit. Then after that you require, that is the very most important thing, that one is nothing but called pulse transformer. That is called the pulse transformer. Let it put it here. From this one, the pulse amplifier you can give to one pulse transformer. Pulse transformer. So what is the purpose of this one? So pulse transformer only it is used to give the isolation. Transformer, if people might have studied, the pulse transformer means it will just isolate the low power pulse signal from the high power circuit. So that signal will be applied to here. So this pulse signal will be switching on the device in reference to the power circuit. So this is what called the driver circuit. This is what called the driver circuit. And this last one, that is known as the control circuit. That is known as control circuit. So control circuit will decide how much time the device should be on, how much time the device should be off. But who will be carrying this idea of giving the controlled pulse, that will be taken by the driver circuit. So it will be driving the gate signal and it will give into the gate signal. Ultimately, by applying the gate signal, the output will be varied at this output terminal. So this is how the firing circuit is designed. So firing circuit will be placed just to switch on the thyristor according to our desire. Okay. So now let's discuss one by one. There are different firing circuits that will be available, and let's discuss one by one. Let's start with very basic thing, firing circuit, which is see, the first firing circuit that will be, that is nothing but resistance firing circuit. Resistance firing circuit. So the resistance firing circuit is the very basic firing circuit. Even though it is a very basic firing circuit, nowadays it is not in use. So why it is not in use, that will also come to know after doing the analysis. So that, but then one question might be coming to mind: why we are studying then? So this one you need to study, because that will be giving the idea how the gate signal can be generated. What will be the purpose of the gate signal? Means by keeping that thing in mind, it will be deciding, or it will be giving the idea how the gate signal will be generated. Okay, so let's draw the circuit diagram for this particular resistance firing circuit. So here we'll be having one sinusoidal voltage, that is known as Vs equal to Vm sin omega t. So here you can put a load, then here you can put the thyristor. This will be the thyristor. Okay. This is the thyristor connected here. So this voltage across this one is the Vt. So this is the gate terminal. So how to apply the gate signal to here? Look at here. Here is 1, one resistor, then there will be another resistor, then one diode will be present. This output will be connected to the gate signal. Then here another resistor. So here this one is R, this one is R1, and this one is a variable resistor, let's say R2. So this is one diode, let's say it is D1. Okay, so this is the thyristor, and this voltage is known as the gate voltage. Clear? So if you see, so you have not discussed the gate characteristics, but gate characteristics, as it is not in the syllabus, we have not discussed. Let me give you the brief. So gate signal, it should be having one threshold value, the VGT. Okay, means if you are applying a voltage across the gate, if that reaches to the gate threshold value, then the device will be on. And also there will be one current IGT corresponding to the this threshold value. So if the voltage across the gate that applied to the gate, that will be reaching to the VGT, and current flowing through that will be IGT, then the device will be on. The device will be on if you are applying a gate signal. So this is the circuit where you will be applying the so this is the supply voltage, so this is the load. Okay, so the load, let it be V0. Okay, so and this circuit forms the your firing circuit. This circuit forms the firing circuit. The firing circuit, and this is the main power circuit. And if you see, this R1 value is a high resistance is connected, another variable resistance. So this variable resistance, why it is connected? Just to control the gate current. Okay, and this is one diode is connected here. Okay, just to give the gate signal to this point. And if you'll come to know what is due to that presence of diode, what happens in the gate circuit by drawing the waveform. And if you see this resistance R, so this R resistance, you can say that this is the gate voltage stabilizing resistance. So this voltage stabilizing resistance, voltage stabilizing resistance, that means it is just used to stabilize the voltage across the gate terminal. Okay, and R1 is the fixed resistance. So if you see the this one, the current flowing through here, let's say it is I. Okay, so initially, let's say because R2 is a variable resistance, let's say R2 equal to 0, means it is kept at the minimum position. If the resistance R2 is kept at minimum position, then what will be the current I? That one will be equal to, so it is nothing but supply voltage is Vs, this is RMS value, so this is Vm sin omega, this is what, so we are considering the maximum voltage, so you can take it Vm, so it will be Vm, because R2 is 0, it will be V2 Vm divided by R1, Vm divided by R1, so that must be less than equal to the maximum Ig, it is the maximum permissible current, maximum permissible current. Clear? Now, so that is, so from here what you can find out the value of, because whenever you will be going to design this circuit, you need to know the value of R1. So R1 you can find out that will be greater than equal to Vm divided by IgM. Okay, where IgM is the maximum permissible current. So this thing, so so in order to design this one, so you will be having the data sheet of the thyristor. From the data sheet of the thyristor, you can get this value of current. So that value you can put it here. You can find out the value of R1. Similarly, how to, because this is the limit for the current. Now from the limit of the voltage, okay, the limit of the voltage, what you can find out, the voltage across this resistance R, that is nothing but the stabilizing resistance. So that voltage must be less than equal to the maximum permissible voltage across the gate. So for that reason, the supply voltage, let's say it is Vm, okay, into, now this is, if you see diode, it is conducting, so R2 is 0. So if you see, the circuit will look like something this, okay. The voltage, as there is no the thyristor is not conducting, no load current will flowing, only small amount of the triggering current will flow. So the drop across the load, that will be also very less. So that's why you can neglect it. So it will be looking like this. As R2 is 0, it will be like R1, then another resistance R here. Okay, so this is nothing but Vm sin omega t. So this voltage, maximum voltage you can take, it will become Vm into, apply the potential division, Vm into R divided by R1 plus R. That is the voltage across the gate. So that one must be equal to less than equal to VGM. So from this, that is, what is this VGM? That is a maximum permissible voltage across the gate terminal. So from this, what you can find out, the value of R, that must be equal to VGM. Already you have got the value of R1. So VGM into R1 divided by Vm into VGM. So from this you can get the value of R. From this you can get the value of R1 and you can put it. And what is the value of R2? So R2 is nothing but one variable resistance, you can put it, so that you can find out the you can design this circuit for switching on the thyristor. Now let's see what happens whenever the gate signal, this current will be flowing, and as well as you will be varying the R2. Okay, so here certain points you need to remember. R1 and R2 value are large. So here one thing you can should remember, R1 and R2 are large value. So as these values are large, obviously it will draw a very less current. So you can write down the gate circuit draws a very small current. So draws a small current. Draws a small current. Clear? So as R1 and R2 are very large values, that's why it will draw a very small current. Okay. Second point you can write down. So now look at here. If you see, just forget about the this thyristor. This thyristor, if you remove it, if you look at from this one, this is a load, and here resistors are connected, and only one diode is connected. So this circuit looks like a half wave rectifier. So you can put it like it here. The circuit behaves like a half wave rectifier. The circuit behaves as half wave rectifier. So so due to the presence of only one diode, so that's why it is behaving like a half wave rectifier. Then amplitude. So what will be the people might be knowing, if it is a half wave rectifier, and if you are applying a sinusoidal wave, then output will be like this. So we'll be getting a DC pulse. So that one you can write down. The amplitude of the DC pulse, means this one, of the DC pulse can be controlled by, see, the only variable thing is this resistance. So if you want to vary the DC pulse amplitude, so you have to vary the resistance R2, can be controlled by varying R2. So if you vary R2, then this amplitude of the gate signal will be varied. Okay. Now let's try to analyze what happens exactly. There will be considering three cases. So what is that three cases? So that DC pulse. So DC pulse voltage, first case, it can be the DC pulse will let it be represented by VGP. So it is the DC pulse voltage that will be applied across the gate to switch it on. So VGP is DC pulse voltage. So first case is that VGP is less than the VGT, that is the threshold value of the gate voltage. Unless this voltage reaches to this voltage, what will happen? The device will not be switched on. So we will see the first case, what happens during this case. The second case, we will see that VGP will be exactly equal to VGT. Okay, this is the second case. Third case, you will see that the VGP will be greater than VGT. Okay, so we'll see these three conditions. In these three conditions, how the device gets, whether the device gets on or not. If the device gets on, then how the output voltage and output current will be. Okay, so now let's see the first case. Let's see the first case, that is nothing but VGP is less than VGT. Okay, for that, so let's draw the waveforms. So look at here. So this is omega t, and the first one you will be drawing, that is the Vs. So Vs, if you draw, so let's say this is 0 instant, this is pi, this is 2 pi, this is 3 pi. Okay, so this is the voltage that will be applied, that is nothing but the input voltage. Now, so after applying this voltage, if you see, the next thing that will be finding out, that is the VGP. So here the case is that, let's say this is the gate voltage, let's say this dotted line shows the threshold value. So this thing you can write down, this is VGT, this is the threshold value. Okay, so if your VGP reaches to this value, then the device will be on. So first case is that VGP is less than VGT, means we have set the value of R2 in such a manner that the VGP will be less than here, less than the VGT. So this amplitude is your VGP. Okay, this amplitude will be, this is not VGP, this amplitude is VGP. So VGP is less than the VGT. Okay, so due to that, as it has not reached to the threshold value, so the gate signal will not able to switch on the device. As the device will not be switched on, means look at here, the device is not switched on, means no current will be flowing through this path. Okay, so here this will not conduct, because the gate voltage that is applied, that is not sufficient to trigger the device. Okay, so what you have to do, if you see in this case, you have to vary the R2 to get the output voltage, but as the device is not getting switched on, then V0 will be itself, it will be 0. So V0 will be 0, because see, practically see, if you see very small amount of current flow, so very minimum voltage drop will be there. But if you see theoretically, there will be no voltage. So as V0 will be 0, so V0 will be 0, as well as I0. Okay, I is the load current, that will be also 0, because the device is not conducting. Then next thing, if you see the variation of the plot, that is nothing but Vt. So Vt is the voltage drop across the device. So if you see here, Vt is nothing but voltage drop across the thyristor. So Vt, how will be Vt? So Vt, if you see the variation, look at here, the variation of Vt, as the device, that gate firing circuit has not successfully switched on the device, so the device has not been switched off, the total supply voltage that will be appeared across the device. So this supply voltage Vs, that will be appearing across Vt. So that one you can represent, it is same as your Vs. So Vt will be same as your Vs. So you can plot it like this. So it will be like this. This is pi, this is 2 pi, this is 3 pi. So this is the case where we are not able to switch on the device because VGP is less than VGT. Now let's take the second case. If you take the second case where VGP will be exactly equal to VGT. Okay. So if this is the case, now let's draw the waveform again. So this one will be the VS. So this is the VS. So VS is sinusoidal signal. You can represent it here. Okay. So this is 0, this is pi, this is 2 pi, this is 3 pi. Now next thing is that if you see, if you will be plotting the gate voltage Vg. So here the condition we have taken that VGP equal to VGT. So let's take this one. So this is nothing but the level of the gate voltage VGT. Okay. So now the voltage is equal. So equal means, I look at here, it is a half wave rectifier, so it will be amplitude increased. So whenever it will be tossing this one, exactly at this location will be pi by 2. So this is pi. Then after that it will be 0. Then again it will be repeating itself and it will be touching to this peak value. So that this thing will be repeating because it is a periodic operation. So pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, like that it will be switched on. Now see here. So at this instant, okay. So this instant, your VGP equal to VGT. So VGP equal to VGT means now if you plot the V0, so how it will be V0? So V0 means, look at here, at this instant it will be on means, so this one will be your alpha. So this one will be the firing angle alpha. Means the device is switched on at exact this location. So that one will be reflected in the output voltage V0. So here you can put it here. So this one will be the output voltage. This one will be the output voltage that will be starting from pi by 2, and this duration is nothing but the firing angle, that is delay, that is the alpha, and this is pi. Then after that again it will be 0 up to 2 pi. Then after 2 pi, again after pi by 2 it will be again 0. So then it will be repeating itself. So this angle will be 2 pi plus alpha. So this will be 2 pi plus alpha 2. This is 3 pi. So like that you will be getting V0. Then what will be I0? I0, because let's assume that it is a resistive load. So I0 if you plot, so it will be just reduced amplitude of this one. Reduced amplitude, but the durations where it will be switched on, that will be same. Okay. So here the most important thing will be what will be the value of Vt, that is the voltage across the device. Now look at here. So whenever the device is conducting, this device is conducting, what will the voltage across this Vt? It will be nothing but Vs minus V0. So Vt will be equal to Vs minus V0. You just subtract these two signals, you will be getting the Vt. So how to do this one? Look at here. Look at this waveform. So this is Vs, this is V0. Now you subtract. Subtract means this part will be cut from the source voltage. So how it will be? So you'll be getting the output voltage Vt will be like this. But from this instant, pi by 2, the device starts conducting. So that's why for this duration, the output voltage will be 0. Then from pi to 2 pi, you will be getting the negative voltage. Then after that, again 2 pi to 2 pi plus alpha, again it will be like this. Then after that, again it will be 0. So this is the voltage across the thyristor whenever you are switching on. So you have switched on at pi by 2. So alpha, in this case, the firing angle will be equal to 90 degree. Okay, but here the device was not switched on. Okay, this is the second case. Then the last case that will be seeing here, third case, where VGP, that is the pulse voltage, is greater than VGT. If this is the case, then what will happen? Look at here. So here will be the source voltage, that is omega t. So this is Vs. So this will be sinusoidal voltage as it is. This is pi, 2 pi, 3 pi. Okay. Now the next thing is that the gate voltage, if you plot omega t, so third condition is that this is the gate voltage, and let's say this is the threshold value. So here this is nothing but VGT, but VGP is greater than VGT, so means it is increased like this. Okay, then from pi to 2 pi, again it will be 0. Then after that, again it will be switched on up to 3 pi like this. This is 2 pi to 3 pi. This is 0 to pi. Now if you see here, at this instant only VGP equal to VGT. So this instant the device will be on. So this duration will be the delay in this case. Clear? Now at this instant, now the device is switched on at alpha. Now if you plot the output voltage here, so this one will become, so now look at here, at this instant you are switching on. So this is V0. Up to this it will be 0. Okay, then you'll be getting the voltage like this. So this is alpha, this is pi. Okay, then this is 2 pi. Okay, again 2 pi plus alpha this instant. Okay, so this instant it will be on. So up to that period it will be 0, then it will be increasing, then it will be falling like this. So this is 2 pi. This instant will be 2 pi plus alpha, then this will be 3 pi. Clear? Now if you take this this will be the V0, then what will be the I0? I0, if you plot, I0 will be same thing, it will be here, but the magnitude will be less. The magnitude will be less as we have assumed a resistive load. Okay. Okay, so let's say this one will be exactly okay. So this will be the current. Now after getting this one, the last thing you will be drawing, that is nothing but the voltage across the device when it is switched on. So now at this instant it is switched on. So again the Vs minus V0. So you will be getting the Vs will be like this. Up to this period it will be 0. Then negative half cycle it will be appearing across the device again. Then 2 pi to 2 pi plus alpha, again it will be continuing. Then here it will be continuing like this. Okay, so this will be the output voltage. Then after that it conducts, there is 0. So instants are 0. This is alpha, this is pi, this is 2 pi, this is 2 pi plus alpha. So this is nothing but Vt. So if you look at here alpha is less than 90 degree. Alpha is less than 90 degree. And here you are getting alpha equal to 90 degree. But here the device is not switched on. So from this position, particular configuration of switching or firing circuit, we'll come to know that the maximum for delay angle that will be getting will be 90 degree. Okay, so it will vary from, the alpha will vary from 0 to 90 degree, 0 degree to 90 degree. So within that range only you will be finding out, because so you cannot go more than that, because you have tested the three conditions. Now look at it, why it will be maximum will be 90 degree. See, when this pulse is here, whenever it is trending towards, so it will be maximum, it will be touching at the maximum point. So the maximum point is pi by 2. If you go on increasing, then alpha is decreasing, but alpha will never be increasing. So here the demerit of drawback of this particular method is that alpha only can be varied, alpha can be varied only from 0 degree to 90 degree. So within that range, within this range only, you can vary the firing angle. That's why this method is not suitable. Okay, that is the first thing. Second thing is that if you see, here, continuously, because this gates firing circuit is continuously connected to the source. So what will happen? Continuously a power will be flowing through this one. So there will be a huge power loss will be occurring. That is the one problem, because continuously the pulse will be applied to the device. Clear? That is one of the major drawback. And second drawback is that it can vary only from 0 to 90 degree, which is because we need to switch on the device at any delay angle. It can be 0, it can be 20, 30, it can be more than 90 degree also. Okay, so for that reason, what you have to do, so this method will not be that much suitable for switching on the devices. Okay, so this is what the resistance triggering circuit. So as this method is having certain drawback, then the next one will be given to will be the RC firing circuit. And here another thing is that when you are varying alpha to 0 degree to 90 degree, obviously the output will be varied from, okay, when alpha equal to 0, that will output will be 100%. So it will be 100% to, when it is 90 degree, it will be 50%. That is in proportion of alpha. Okay, so due to the drawback of this particular method, now next one will be discussing, that is nothing but RC firing circuit. RC firing circuit. So RC firing circuit, that will continue in the next lecture. So thank you for paying your attention. So next class will be discussing this next firing circuit.